Hello and welcome to lesson 9-2, Decomposing Fractions. We're on page 337, volume 2 of your Envision book. Today we're going to use number lines, area models, or drawings to decompose fractions. Decompose is a new word. Decompose just means to take apart. Okay, so we're going to be taking apart fractions. Let's look at solve and share. Karen has 11/8 pound of chili to put into 3 bowls. The amount of chili in each bowl does not have to be the same. How much chili could Karen put into each bowl? Solve this problem any way you choose. All right, so we're going to have 3 bowls of chili. Again, they don't have to be the same amount, but they do have to add up to 11/8. I know that 8/8 is a whole, so I have more than 1 pound. I have a pound plus 8, 9, 10, 11, 3/8. All right, because I remember from yesterday that 8 plus 3, that's how we add our fractions. We add the numerators, the denominators stay the same. So that means that I could have 3/8, the amount that's over 1 pound, in one bowl. That leaves me 8/8 for the next 2 bowls. So I can do this in many different ways. I could say I'm just going to put another 3/8 in this bowl. So if I take 3/8 away from the 8/8, I'm going to have 5/8 left. I could have just divided it in half. One gets 4/8, the other gets 4/8, because I know that 4 plus 4 is 8. So there are many different ways to decompose or break apart fractions, but we just need to make sure that we end up with the same amount. So to check ourselves, 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 5 is 11/8. All right. Let's go ahead and just show you that you will be decomposing on your visual learning video. It just goes over again. Decomposing means to break into parts, whereas compose means to combine parts. So we decomposed the chili. We broke it up into parts. They did not have to be equal, and they were not equal. And then to check ourselves, we put them back together. We added them back up to make sure that we got what we started with. So you'll watch this after the completion of this video. Let's look at another example on page 339. What is one way you can decompose 3 1/8? 3 1/8 is 1 whole plus 1 whole plus 1 whole to make our 3 whole plus an eighth. Each whole can also be shown as 8 equal parts. So we've got 1 whole, 2 whole, 3 whole, and 1/8. A mixed number is a whole number part and a fraction part. So we have a mixed number here because we have a whole number and we have a fraction part. 3 1/8, we just showed that that's 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1/8. We also know that we can rename 1 whole as 8/8. This 1 whole is another 8/8. This is another 8/8 plus our 1/8. So we know that we can change these wholes into fractions, and we can decompose these fractions or mixed numbers in 2 different ways, whole numbers and by fractions alone. So do you understand what is another way to decompose 3 1/8? We could decompose it as we don't have to break up our wholes. We could say we've got 2 wholes plus 1 plus 1/8. That's maybe a simple way to do that. We may break up or change this 1 whole not into 1 whole, but as a fraction of 8/8, which is 1 whole. We could take one of those away from there, make that not 8/8, but 7/8, which means we need to add another eighth over here, so this becomes not just 1/8, but 2/8. So I'm getting a little bit complicated maybe there, but there are many, many ways to decompose 3 1/8. Now let's look at the area model above. What fraction with a greater numerator than denominator is equivalent to 3/8? So I was just looking at this thinking if we add these all together, which is how we add fractions, 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 1, we would get 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 8 more is 24, plus 1 is 25. So we've just added our numerators. We know how to add fractions. We keep the denominator the same, and we double check each one is eighths. So we have created a number where the numerator is greater than the denominator, and it is also equivalent or equal to 3 1/8, because we decompose 3 1/8, remember, up here into this. So that's all they're asking for, is you to add those parts, those fractions together. All right, so these answers, there is not just one correct answer. There could be multiple answers that would be correct. It's asking us to decompose each fraction or mixed number in 2 different ways. Use a tool if needed. So we have 3/5. We can break it apart. We know that we're going to stick with fifths. We are not changing the number of equal parts. We do know, though, that these 2 parts, we're breaking apart the top number, the numerator, 3. I know that 1 plus 2 equals 3. And that makes 3/5. That's one way to decompose 3/5. Again, another way to decompose 3/5, we've got to remember to keep the denominator the same. That's something you should never miss. Your denominator never changes. Now we want to divide 3/5 into 3 equal parts, which would be 1 plus 1 plus 1. 1, 2, 3. 3/5. Looking at 1 3/4, we can break it apart into, it's a mixed number, our whole number plus our fraction. Again, the denominator never changes. All we've done is breaking apart the whole number plus the fraction part, so we've got 1 plus 3/4. Another way to do 1 3/4 would be to change our whole number 1 into fourths. We know that 4 equal parts out of 4 makes 1 whole, and then we still have our 3/4 remaining. You are to decompose or break apart each fraction below or mixed number in 2 different ways. All right, so you'll have 2 different answers. Let's just do, well, it gives you the space for each one, so you've only got 6 problems. 4, 6, and 4, 6, so show it in one way and then show your second way right next to it. Then you're going to flip over and do number 16 on page 340 after you watch the visual learning video. When you complete this independent practice, then you go on to the quick check for the day.